The Great Gatsby is published in New York City. Winston Churchill announces Britain's return to the gold standard, and an African American by the name of Tom Lee rescues 32 people from M.E. Norman, a steamboat that was sinking in the Mississippi River. The year is 1925, and this Packard 8 Sport could be had at your local Packard dealer. But before getting into this one, I'm your host, Jay, a boomer trapped inside a millennial's body. That's right, I am not AI. I'm an actual person. And welcome to the channel, What It's Like, the automotive channel for automotive enthusiasts that like the finer cars from yesteryear. Whether you're planning on buying these cars or you just like seeing cars that were made of steel and made of real materials. You know, there was a world before plastic when cars were rolling works of art. We mostly do cars before 1980, but there are some exceptions, with engine episodes as well as company histories sprinkled in. If any of that sounds of interest to you, a channel that you will totally dig, subscribe and hit the bell icon next to it to never miss a video. 1925 Packard model lineup. But before getting into all of that, it's important to note that Packard, their models or years are a bit confusing because Packard didn't go by model years. Instead, they use series. 1925 through 1926 are essentially the same. Packard would offer the third Series 6, which would be the 326 in 1925. It would be 333 in 1926, followed by the second Series 8, which in 1925 would be the model 236. 1926, it would be the 243. They just called it the Packard 8 in 1925, with the moniker Single 8 being dropped. Packard 8 could be had in such body styles included but not limited to 4-passenger coupe, 5-passenger coupe, 2-passenger Hallbrook, 4-passenger sport, 5-passenger and 7-passenger sedans, 5-passenger or 7-passenger touring, 5-passenger club sedan, limo, and you could always get the chassis and take it to whatever coach builder of your choice to have whatever body would fit your needs built on the chassis. Packard would offer this version of 8 with a separate aluminum crankcase from 1924 through 1932. If the 1932 number's wrong, please let me know in the comment section. That's as far as I could trace it. It grew out of the Packard 6 and would replace the Twin 6. The Packard 8 would be Packard's top shelf offering until Packard would decide to bring back the Twin 6 or the 12 in 1932. To expand on a point a little bit further about the Packard 8 growing out of the Packard 6, which is true, but the crankshaft throws were set up in a 2-4-2 manner. So it was set up like you were running two 4-cylinders bolted together. The 8 was 350 pounds lighter than the Twin 6. It made more power and returned better fuel economy. Also super interesting to point out is the Packard 8 with the separate aluminum crankcase that grew out of the 6-cylinder. When they would redesign the engine with the crankcase built in as a monoblock design, they would just lob off 2 of the cylinders to make a 6-cylinder. So it's interesting that the 6-cylinder became the 8, and then the 8 became the 6. Just to reiterate, because I know I'm going to get at least one person in the comments saying, but Packard made the straight 8 until 1954, which is correct. But Packard made 2 very different straight 8s. One had a detachable aluminum crankcase, and the other one did not. When they ditched the aluminum crankcase, they made a junior style 8 and a senior style 8. The senior style 8 kept the 9-main bearing crankshaft. There were engines that offered 7, and the junior models seem to have 5, but that's neither here nor there. Just wanted to specify that that engine goes on from 1932 through the end 1954. Both Pontiac and Packard held out on the straight 8 as long as they possibly could, both going to a V8 in 1955. Let's talk specs. 201.5 inches long, 68 1/8 inches wide. With the top up, it's 73 inches tall. It rides a wheelbase of 136 inches. It weighs around 4,000 pounds. Price, $2,750, which seems a bit light, but adjusted for inflation, it would be equivalent to you spending $50,764.69 in the year 2025. Total 1925 Packard production. We're going to go with total 1925 through 1926. Packard 8 production was 7,912 units. And that equates to be, in 1925, they produced 2,794 Packard 8s. In 1926, they produced 5,118 Packard 8s. Moving on to engine, only one engine available for the Packard 8, and that was 357.8 cubic inch displacement, flathead inline 8, 5.8 liters. It was good for anywhere between 80 to 85 horsepower at 3,000 RPM. This is just an estimate, 150 pound-feet, or 203 newton meters around 1,800 RPM, with a bore of 3 3/8 inches in a stroke of 5 inches. Compression was 4.5 to 1, 9 main bearings, mechanical valve lifters. It is backed to a 3-speed transmission. I found this 1925 Packard at the Greenfield Village during the Old Car Festival. For those that don't know or may have never even heard of the Old Car Festival, let me tell you, it's always the first weekend after Labor Day weekend, and it's cars that are built before 1932, and they drive them around in the streets. It's a period correct town. Most people dress up in period correct costumes. It is the best car show this side of the Mississippi. In my opinion, it's like going back in time for a weekend. Just notice these bumpers, 2 blades, and they come together like this. Also notice how they are attached to the car. And look at those beautiful headlights. Pretty massive. Here's my hand for reference. You can see all of the veins. Fenders have this really nice profile to them. And it's kind of embossed here, but it's like just raised up ever so slightly. The headlights sit on this bar here that goes in between the fenders for structural rigidity so they don't flap going down the road. Just look at how this radiator shroud is designed. Beautiful modem meter with the wings. This one's got the butterfly hood going back towards the split windshield, the split horizontal. Beautiful wire wheels. It says Packard Motor Car, Detroit, Michigan, USA. This one has the Firestone bias tires, 6-ply, 650-20. Just take a look at how the fender runs into the running board. I love the colors on this car. This one's got the cowl lights, cowl vent, another spotlight / accessory light. Just look at the lines in this fender. Got the battery box on the passenger side. Rear fenders kick out. Rear bumpers. This one's got 2 spare tires. It's got a single brake light, license plate right underneath it. Gas filler is right behind the 2 spare tire setup. That's what the other bumper looks like. Here's what over the hood would look like. Here's what first person over the hood would look like. Up above, there aren't any sun visors, but there is a windshield wiper, as well as rear view mirror and center.
Gas on. It helps if you have gas going into the carburetor.
Yes.
And it was at the RM auction, and they sent me a ton of photos of the car before I went down. I thought, I'm going to buy this car. So I went down the day before the auction to preview it, and I started walking across the parking lot, and I looked up, and there it was, and it's like, I'm not buying that car. And I got over to it, and it was like, oh my God, there's so many details that are wrong and that have been changed, and I said, no. And it sold, and the bidding started at about where my high bid was going to be. And I thought, you people are crazy. And so the car sold, and the next morning I was kind of thinking about it as I was walking through Hershey, and I looked up and I went, huh, look at that, nose of that Packard sticking out from under the tent. And then I did a kind of second take, and I went, that's a sport model. It was about 6 months later, I thought, oh yeah, I was looking at a Franklin. So I had totally forgotten about the Franklin, but the guy who had it had only owned it just about a year, not quite a year at that time.
Wow.
And he and I just hit it off. We clicked. There was another guy who was interested in the car but wanted to totally restore it, wanted to make it white with red interior, was going to use it as a wedding car.
So that's an interesting looking belt that runs off the crankshaft
Yeah, the fan belt.
to the fan belt.
That's what they looked like back then.
Oh, wow.
And because there weren't service stations anywhere, if you lost a belt, if it broke, you carried a couple extra links with you. You repaired the belt, put it back on, and off
Oh,
you went.
wow, that's incredible. And everything else is gear driven?
Yes. Yes.
So, is this a single or a double updraft carburetor?
Single.
Wow.
Single. And it
What
has,
is that?
this is called a Skinner oil rectifier. And what it did is run your engine oil through there and use exhaust gas heat to burn off any oil or water or impurities.
Oh, wow.
But in reality, what it did is cook the oil. So this was only available for a year, and then they realized, oh, this doesn't do a very good thing, so they got rid of them. Most of the cars now, these have been removed, and Packard had a blank plate that would just go over the hole to seal that up, and then you would take that off. Well, I run synthetic oils in here. You cannot cook it, so I can leave it hooked up without it.
Is that what the spark
damaging
plug's
it.
for?
No, the spark plug is for a preheat chamber. And Packard called it a fuelizer. So about 10% of the fuel mixture comes up through a very small hole inside here into here, and the spark plug will fire to help preheat the mixture as it's going from the carburetor into the motor. Back then, your average octane or gas was somewhere around 55, 57. Today, our low octane is 87. So, and gasoline was so inconsistent in quality that oftentimes you had trouble getting it to combust. So they would put things like your vacuum fuel pump close to the exhaust manifold to get some heat in it, and then have this fuelizer. Well, with today's higher octane fuels, you don't want to do that, especially if there's any ethanol in it. I run ethanol-free fuel in my cars because it's just so much better. The ethanol is very, very corrosive to older motors that aren't made to handle it. So this is not hooked up anymore. It just looks like it is.
Love how the distributor's right in the center.
Yes.
Everything's all accessible. And getting all those spark plug wires in that tube would be a pain.
Not as much as you think. They go in pretty easily. But it keeps them up off the block. It keeps them from being damaged.
Yeah, it looks cleaner. It doesn't have a bunch of wires everywhere.
Yes. Yes.
Oh man, you're gonna make me want one of these.
Good.
I'm gonna sell my truck and buy a Nash, not a Packard. I got to drive a 55 cross country, and I was really blown away by the ride.
Yeah.
Because the unit body and the coil suspension just glides down the road. You can open up all the windows, and there's absolutely no turbulence at any speed.
Yeah, those are cool vehicles.
Kind of worried about the classic car, not just classic car, but old car market in general. It's great for people like you and I. When the bottom falls out, we can scoop up all these cool cars. But that guy's not allowed in here. It's just weird. Like, I stopped over at that worldwide auction last weekend. And that Roadster Pierce Arrow went for like nothing. The touring car didn't go for anything either, but like it went for double what the Roadster did.
But that one's all restored. So I mean, there's little squeaks and rattles here and there in this because it's original.
It gives it character.
Well, it does.
The squeaks tell you it needs grease. The birds stop chirping once they get fed.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness.
My truck was doing that. My wife's like, "Is there a bird in here?" I was like, "It just needs a little bit."
Everyone's attention.
It's like, I don't know where it's coming from. This ride's like everything that I thought it would be. When you glided past me the last year, I mean, it's whisper smooth.
So we're idling up this hill in third gear.
Third gear.
Yeah, my foot is off the accelerator.
It just pulls it like effortlessly.
This car has a lot of torque.
That's something people don't understand is long stroke power is different than big bore power.
Yes, and these cars were never meant for speed. But the power that they had, the effort that you as a driver have to put in to operate the vehicle is so minimal. I mean, we're in third gear right now, coming up this hill. Not many cars can do that. Go up here and rejoin.
Before getting into the pros and cons, there's a couple stories that I want to share with you about the owner and this car. I met the owner, his name's Roy, at the Salem Concord event last year, and I was sicker than a dog. I had allergies, but the allergies that I had, like, I was so congested, it really sucked. But we clicked, and he had a Bentley there. And I'm still to this day kicking myself for not doing the Bentley. Bentley was always like this brand that I was just intimidated by. But after talking to some other Bentley owners, Bentley people are pretty down to earth people. They're like Packard people. This guy has both. Sometimes Bentley owners have Packards and vice versa. But anyway, he was telling me about his 1925 Packard, that it's like an old pair of shoes or your favorite pair of pants, which this car definitely is. It just rides so nice. But he was telling me about the car, and he's like, I'll be at the Greenfield Village if you want to come find me and you could cover the car. And I was like, yes, that would be great. I looked and looked everywhere last year, and I could not find Roy. The way the Greenfield Village is set up is there's different spots that different various cars could be. They could either be parked with their age group, like the 1920s, the 1921s, like they'll all be in one spot, or you could have your car judged and it would be on the show field, or your car could also be driving around in town because they promote that. So it's a big place. It was really hard. I couldn't find them. So it's dark out now at this point. I still didn't find Roy. Everybody's gone for the night. They're putting the train away. They actually just put the train away. And there isn't hardly anybody on the streets. It's pitch black. It's probably about 9 o'clock. And this car glides past me like whisper quiet, silk smooth, barely made a noise at all. And it's a low slung sport model Packard, this Packard. And just for the hell of it, I said, "Hey, Roy, is that you?" The car comes to a gentle stop, and Roy turns around and he's like, "Jay, you made it. Where have you been?" I was like, "I've been looking for you all day." I don't know. It was just a really cool story, I thought. I wish I could have filmed it. It was great. Roy always dresses the part. The other story that I wanted to tell you is a story that he told me. We were talking about like what is the cruising speed for this car? And he said that it'll go 50, 55, 65 comfortably, but the fastest that he ever took it, he's like, I had it up to 80 miles an hour once on the oval Chrysler Proving Ground track. And I guess it was an event with various people from different car clubs. I'm not sure if it was a car club or various car clubs, but there was a Model A with a Mitchell overdrive, and he's like, he just had to pass me. And the noise that the A made was, I'm going to try my best to do it, but it was really high pitched, like, and then I guess he got past Roy, and maybe not even a quarter of a mile later, the car blew up and Roy just passed him in the Packard just waving. I just thought that was a really cool story. All right, pros and cons. On the positive side, it's a Packard. Packard quality engine is robust, very torquey engine. Serviceability, there's panels for the valves and cam cover. Also, the cylinders can be replaced without taking the engine completely apart or removing it. Silk smooth ride. Roy was purposely hitting bumps and imperfections, potholes in the road. Hell, we were even on a gravel road at one point, and it felt like we were on pavement. This 100-year-old car rides better than most anything sold now. Dijon, if I pronounce it wrong, I'm sorry, oil pump, which lubricates the chassis without having to get under the car and do it yourself. But you have to check the level of the oil in the system because it's not magical. It needs oil to be inside the container to do those things, to lubricate those parts. Against it, I can't think of anything besides maybe parts. Part availability might be an issue. The cars themselves are kind of hard to find. All right, now it's time for Would You Rather. These are not fair by any stretch of the imagination, but which one of these would you rather have? 1925 Lincoln Model L, or 1925 Packard 8, or 1925 Cadillac? I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. On to the second scenario, a bit outside the box, and these ones are truly unfair. But which one would you rather have? 1925 Stutz 8, or 1925 Packard 8, or 1925 Will St. Clair with the V8 overhead cam? I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. Now it's time for Name That Tune. First person to get both the name of the band and the song title correctly in the comment section will have their comment pinned to the top of it. Thank you all so much for coming out and watching this one. If you'd like to get in touch with me, shoot me a comment in the comment section below, or you can always send me an email at it's doesn't have an apostrophe at yahoo.com. Thanks again for everything that you guys bring in the comment section. And until next time, toodaloo! This is the part of the video where we usually do a really slow motion walk around and show this car in its entirety, but I totally didn't hit the right button when recording, which happens sometimes, so there isn't any slow motion footage, and I apologize for that. But tomorrow we'll be back with a 1955 Kaiser, so you got that to look forward to. Until then, toodaloo!